Hey y'all, my name is Brianna, and welcome to the very first episode of Brianna's Bachelor Breakdown. I'm starting this channel because I love this franchise. I've been watching since I was in middle school with Ashley and JP's season, and I haven't missed a season since. I also love analyzing relationships and exploring the dynamics between two people. You know, what makes a successful relationship and what makes a relationship unsuccessful or causes people to have friction or break up. So thank you for tuning in. On this video, I'm going to cover my thoughts on episode 5 of Katie's season. We opened the episode up with Caitlyn and Katie discussing how it is to let a new contestant on in the middle of the season. I forgot how much Caitlyn and Katie had in common in that aspect, so it's actually perfect that Caitlyn is already there to provide advice and perspective. All the guys are in a good mood after successfully getting Thomas out the previous night, which they should know things are not going to stay this calm for long on this show. I thought it was kind of weird / unnecessary for Tayshia to announce the arrival of a new guy. It just made it much more dramatic than it already was, and I wonder if that was a producer choice or Katie's decision for Tayshia to be the announcer. If it was Katie's choice, then I feel like that's kind of messed up because she's actively doing something that she knows will annoy the guys, and then breaking the news to them is literally the least she could do. Like, I feel like that's kind of cowardly, in my opinion. You know, if that's the decision that she made to bring him on, that's fine. But I feel like she needs to stand firm in it, and having other people do her bidding for her makes it look like she doesn't care that much about bringing on Blake or care about how the guys will react. Anyway, when Blake walks in, all the guys are thoroughly unmoved. They are not even trying to be welcoming or even say hello. I liked that Blake tried to address the awkwardness of the situation directly, but at the same time, he isn't too pressed. It was another bold move on Katie's part to give Blake the one-on-one. He's not someone who really moved me on Tayshia's season, but I'm interested to see if he can make more of an impression this time around. Their date is a Bachelor classic, you know, a little horseback riding. It was cute, it was simple, whatever. While they were talking about traveling, though, I really thought for a second Blake was about to say something super problematic when he was like, oh, have you ever been to Africa? I was like, okay, here we go, like, lay it on me. But then he started talking about work, so I had to Google his job, and he works as a wildlife manager, so he checks out. For now. The two continue their date and seem to be really enjoying each other's company. One thing that was odd, though, was the unexplained reason why they felt the need when they were making out to get up off of the couch or bed or whatever they were on to lie down on a bed of hay. Like, if I were making out with a guy and he was like, oh, let's get up off of this comfortable furniture to sit on something that's not only itchy, but will also get all over our clothes, the mood is officially ruined. I know it was probably a producer, instruction, but still, it added no value to my viewing experience. That night, at the dinner portion of the date, I liked that Blake took the lead in asking Katie about herself, especially on a topic that he knows is central to her public persona and can get the conversation rolling. I often feel like in one-on-ones, the contestant feels this either real or self-imposed pressure to open up and tell a super personal story. And I always wonder if the lead ever feels like they really get to know who they're dating, but that the contestants don't really get to know them at the same level. I feel like with that being the case, with whoever wins and has to actually carry out a real life relationship with the person, it's already starting off with an unequal power balance that could set the tone for the rest of the relationship. Like, if I know everything about my partner and I was really manipulative, I could use that information to inform how and when I want to tell them my own stories, or also use the information against them whenever I'm mad. Or the lead could feel like they personally don't have that safe space within their relationship to open up since the foundation wasn't laid out in the beginning. You know, the contestant could get so used to being the only one opening up and having the luxury of their partner carry all of that emotional labor of listening and tending to their feelings that the contestant won't want to invite the other person to do the same. So I say all that to say that I like that Blake is actively trying to avoid that trap. And after hearing Katie's story, he was very moved. And you could tell that he was really picking his words in his response very carefully. We end the date with another Bachelor classic, a private concert by an unknown band. I actually kind of like the music though, because I went through a bit of a country phase in high school, so I was kind of vibing. But by the end of the night, Blake has really made an impression on Katie. It has me wondering if he will beat out any of my personal projected Final Four, which include Greg, Connor, Michael A., and Andrew. I will also say as a caveat that I don't look at spoilers, so I could be way off. If I had to say right now, though, I feel like Blake could be coming for Connor's spot since he's the only one who hasn't had a one-on-one yet. Next, we have the group date where they're playing a combination of basketball and rugby. And it's the classic losers go home before the after party. Hunter tackles Michael A., who gets pretty injured as a result, and the game is called. And then everyone gets the consolation prize of going to the after party. Katie shows up in a red leather dress, which I had mixed feelings about. It was not a good mix of feelings. She must have pissed off her wardrobe producer or whoever because her outfits this season have either been very plain or just extra and not flattering. Connor also took a chance on an open button down. Decisions were made this evening fashion-wise, but I sincerely hope that Connor watches it back and decides to make different decisions moving forward. And moving on. I liked that Michael told Katie about his wife's birthday, and he was honest about how he was feeling during it. His moment of telling the guys was also super sweet, and it was nice to see a moment of male friendship and vulnerability. I think it was actually better that Katie wasn't there for that conversation because we as viewers got to see their true maturity and capacity for hard topics without the incentive of trying to impress Katie. Meanwhile, Hunter is using his time with Katie to discuss his kids. I don't know. I could tell they're giving him the next villain edit and the guys are scheming to get another contestant out. But it just doesn't move me, to be honest, because I know that he isn't a front runner, right? Like, it's not like a Thomas situation where Katie was actually falling for him and she would have brushed aside his red flags. I know that even if Hunter didn't get the villain edit, he wouldn't have made it past the final 5 or 6 at the very latest. Later, Greg decides to step up his game with Katie after hearing Michael's story. Except all he does is say that he's crazy about her. I don't know about y'all, but to me that's a very vague term. Like, if a guy said that to me, I wouldn't know what to do with that information. Like, okay, I'm crazy about ice cream. Like, it just doesn't really tell me anything. I feel like for Greg, his actions don't really play out in real life the way he anticipates or the way he interprets them in his head. Finally, Andrew gets the final one-on-one. It was a cute little questionnaire activity, and it allowed him to further showcase his sense of humor, which is part of his bond with Katie. At dinner, he opens up more about his background, which brings us to the other part of his and Katie's connection. I like that they're able to relate on that level. Then he breaks the ice on the whole race thing, which I personally appreciated, and Katie was open to the discussion. But I hope that he intends to dig deeper on the topic off camera, or if he gets a fantasy suite, because joking about being a mama bear at the grocery store, like, that's literally the bare minimum. And I would hope that he expects more from his lifelong partner entering into an interracial relationship. There's so many aspects to it, and they need to make sure that they can form a united front across the board. At the cocktail party, we're still working on Hunter's village and edit. You know, they're really piecing stuff together now with James getting involved. I wish he had more screen time, though, because I don't know if it's just me, but I love his New York accent. He and Aaron are also getting Trey in on the anti-Hunter campaign, who we know is a key lobbyist in these situations. I'm sure next week will be spent collecting more evidence and support from the House before presenting the findings to Katie. The rose ceremony was uneventful for once, but y'all, the mid-season trailer was dramatic, and I'm so excited. I felt like the season trailer they put out at the beginning was a little lacking because I, for one, am here for the tea. So I'm excited to know that there is more to come. Well, that's all I had for this episode. What do you think of Hunter and his villain origin story? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you next week for another episode of Brianna's Bachelor Breakdown, dropping every Wednesday.